About the time the jukebox broke, but she gave me a peck on the back of the neck. These are the words she spoke. She said, too many drinker, throw away your paper, go to the country, build you a home, plant a little garden, eat a lot of peaches, try to find Jesus on your own.
So this is one of the pavilions at Nakomi Camp. We're gonna see all of our speakers. This is actually an incredibly beautiful facility that they have here. I think they have like a lot of church retreats and stuff like that here. But yeah, people are starting to trickle in. They're milling around everywhere. It's going to be a great day.
Practically pull that out of there, y'all. There you go, Randy. Pull as much as you can and then cut what you can. I'll tell you what, let's spin them around because everybody's facing this way. Let me spin that whole thing.
Well, I can come right over here.
And let me do, can you do it from that way? Okay.
I'm versatile.
Randy was the one that hooked up that crock pot last night with those bomb, what'd you call it again?
Pork belly candy.
Pork belly. So you want to cut it away without cutting away any of that skirt. There you go. And you can probably yank out a good portion of it. There you go. It can be ugly as can be, folks. We'll render this in a crock pot and it'll be shelf-stable fat. It's the way to rock and roll. Just like that. Randy got it all in one. He did it. Okay, so he's done this before.
No, I haven't.
Well, you made it look like you did.
But this seems to be working much better since that's cold.
A lot better. It's colder. We used their walk-in, much to the chagrin of the lunch ladies that walked in today. They about lost their mind when they saw a pig hanging up in their walk-in fridge.
That's great.
So they weren't really digging that. Okay, let's feel it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. If you hit 6, that's fine too. You're going to take your 10-inch. You're going to stick it all the way down in there. Come all the way to the table. There you go. Hey, all these tables, they're very sanitized. It's just we use them for demonstration purposes, so they're going to look like that. Okay, now, what was the rule yesterday, y'all, when it comes to your bone saw? What does it cut?
Only the bone.
Just the bones.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to line it up. There you go. Now listen very carefully. It's going to make a different sound when it gets past the bone.
Yeah.
Oop, there we go. There you go.
That's
You
it.
got it.
Just where that bone dips down, that's where you're going to cut the ham.
You don't have to. You could keep it. Anybody remember what it is on the top of the ham? What that's called? Sirloin, no matter the animal.
Yeah.
So here's your ham, and your sirloin's right above it. We're going to leave the sirloin attached to the ham for now.
I know you said yesterday, but what kind of knives are you using?
Victorinox have good starter knives. When I got people out and about, I'm not going to bring my Japanese knives.
Right?
But Victorinox is a very good brand. You can keep them sharp. Victorinox and the Kinlock 17.5-inch bone saw.
Some more bone down there.
Yeah, what is that? Cornox, you said?
Victorinox, Victorinox. This is paint by numbers butchery. You can do this on anything from a pig. Everybody does their deer the hard way. You don't have to. A pig, deer, sheep. This is the cat's meow way. I'm showing you the way that it works universally. It's going to be different on a cow, but not much. You can't mess it up. Hey, remember, if you turn it all into sausage, it doesn't matter. If it weighs, it pays. That's what we say in the butcher world. If it weighs, it pays. Ben. Okay. This is the front end of the animal. Remember, if you're going to find glands, you're going to find it here, and you're going to find it around the what?
The groin.
Right, reproductive organs. Bam. And then you're going to trace that bone. If you get in a little bit of trouble, I'll kind of get you started here. You're going to trace that bone, and you're going to take this whole thing out. Okay?
The bone out.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, while he's doing that, who's our next up? Okay, Melvin. Okay.
Don't cut my hand, I'll be good.
All right. Well, we'll eat it. We can still smoke it. Okay.
Try one more time.
I'm going to have you do. We're going to put everything here. We're going to get a couple of things going. We're going to separate. Everybody remember what this is called? The belly? Okay. Now what's on top of it?
The ribs.
Obviously, yeah. I'm not being cute here, y'all. I'm saying this is the way you teach it. Okay. And then we would ordinarily have what's called a skirt steak. If you bring in a cow, 9 times out of 10, your butchers are stealing this, that, and a number of other steaks. So Melvin, what I want you to do, I'm just going to kind of halfway, you're going to kind of put your hand down here, and you're going to ride these ribs. You're going to run your knife, ride these ribs all the way back. Remember, small cuts.
Small mistakes.
Excellent. There we go. So Melvin's working on separating the ribs. Ben, that is a stellar job, my man. Let me show you a little trick while you're doing that. Make life a little easier for you. You can pull your knife.
The knife out?
I'm not telling you anything, bro. You're doing it perfect. I mean, you're going to make it easier if you can trace the end of this bone out because it gets smaller here.
Yeah.
But honestly, that is exceptional.
Excellent.
Work on the front, and then I'll show you how to use gravity in your favor.
Okay. Okay. Gravity, right?
Okay. Dude, I gave you, honestly, one of the hardest cuts, one of the things that people struggle with most, and you're making it look very easy. So, well done, guys.
Thank you.
Keep going. Take that whole thing out.
Yeah.
You're making that look very, very easy. Okay, there it is. There's the artery, y'all. That's your demarcation point. If you want to get in there and see it. That's your artery. It's going to separate one part of this meat from the other. Okay. Who's up? Okay. You were here yesterday, right? Okay. So we're going to separate the Boston butt from the picnic ham, and that's our demarcation point. So you're going to take our big knife. Now, you got a more difficult. It's not difficult. It's just more to play with. You're just going to come to the north or to the upper side of that animal about ½ inch. You're going to make an incision all the way down, and I'm going to show you how you find it. Let's see. Hold it. You're a little too high. About right there. There you go. Now this is where the shoulder blade meets this bone, which I can never seem to remember. Yes. All right. Let's see what you got here. Now, there's a good cut. Okay. You see where that is? Now you're going to take your boning knife, and what I want you to do is pull away. We got to find where that joint is because we want to avoid using our knife if we can. Most commercial settings, they're just going to run that through a bandsaw. So just, well, let me kind of give you this is a more difficult part, but it's okay. So you're just going to kind of pull away. Small cuts, small mistakes, right? Take your boning knife, pull. You're going to do as much pulling, and you want to use the first little bit of your knife. That's doing 99% of your work. So you want to be pulling here and kind of pull this back to see where you are. And we're going to have her separate it. Okay, you got it. You got it right there is where you want to make that separation. So you're going to take your knife. You're doing perfect. So you're going to take the tip of it and then kind of separate that bone from that shoulder. So kind of separate it. Let me get out of the way so folks can get in there.
Just cutting through that bone.
She got it.
Wow.
Man.
Awesome.
You did that very well. There you go. That's the only time,
Good
y'all,
job.
butchery is the only time in the culinary world where it's okay to hold your knife like this. Dead serious. Okay, we're gonna do the Humpty Dumpty thing. And the reason I do it this way is to teach you the primal cuts of any animal. On a pig, we got our Boston butt, picnic ham, loin, belly, and ham. We're going to do it from back to... Okay, now I'm going to throw an audible in there. What's this called?
That's a ham.
Hawk,
Yeah.
ham, sirloin, picnic, Boston butt, loin, pork belly.
There you go. It's that easy, y'all. So, bam, we got it all put back together. Now we can break it down into what's called subprimals. These are your primal cuts. But we're going to have to kind of ease it up a little bit because we kind of threw this class in here. I wanted the people who wanted to put their hands on it to get their hands on it. But now we need this and this to smoke for dinner. Wow, so perfect. She's got. You are?
I'm actually.
I'm like, she's entirely too good at this. Was I wrong about the? Okay, how many chefs do you know holding a knife like this? Only murderers? Only the ones that. Okay, excellent job. Well, you come around here. Once you get some gloves, we're gonna have you take. What's this called again?
Sirloin.
Sirloin. You got the hardest cut here. Sorry.
No, sorry.
It's not actually the hardest, but this bone looks like this on your sirloin. It doesn't matter the animal. Yeah, you're just gonna have to play with that one. There's no, sadly, y'all. There's no with some of this stuff. There's no. You got to do it. You got to do it. There's no getting around it. Okay, you can feel this bone in here. Okay.
It's just this little one.
Yep. So Shelly, I'll get you started, and then you run with it. Okay. I know I'm going to follow it this way now. What you can do, kind of follow it around. It's the weirdest bone in the world, but it's the H bone. We want to get that out of there, and it also goes up here. So it's when she gets it out of there, you'll see how weird a bone that is. Okay. So everybody knows what this would be made for? What is it? This is a very large. Well, we will eventually. Right now, we don't have to worry too much about flies right there. Folks, this is where your bacon comes from, okay? So I said it yesterday, this is how you gauge how much pork you want to have, at least for me anyway. Our ribs, we'll go ahead and cook them too. There's not a whole lot on here. Like I said, it wasn't a massive pig. This, I'm trying to think, okay, yeah. Okay, let's stop. No, there's no wrong way of doing it. If it weighs, it pays. Let me show you a little trick here. Okay. If you're wondering how to go about it, go ahead and wiggle it, okay? So pull as you're doing it, if you want to, and then you can see.
I see.
There you go. Not too much for you. So while Shelly's making excellent, wow, that is a really good job, Shelly. This. They got my knives tied up, but anybody remember what I said was the best cut on any animal? Remember what it is? Capicola, Copa, Gabagool. Your Godfathers or a Sopranos fan? Okay, as soon as they get those done, we'll talk about the Capicola. Now, in a traditional way, if I were in a commercial butchery setting, this is perfectly marbled, perfectly everything. I'm going to separate. Remember, this is all your Boston butt. 9 times out of 10, if it's on there, nobody realizes, doggone it. That thing could be cut up and made steaks out of. It could be a really, really, really cool cut of meat to have. Okay, you look like you're getting it now. You're actually skinning it, but that's cool. And Shelly, that is fantastic. Okay, how are we doing on time? Anybody got a watch handy?
10:02.
10:02. Anybody seen? All right, Gabby. Hey, Gabby, when do I need to wrap this up?
Is this? That needs to be.
No, that is all. This is all good meat,
what I
but
thought.
honestly, that is an exceptional job to get that out the way you did. Honestly, thought you'd be 10 minutes working on it because it's that much of a pain. It really is to get that.
It kind of
That
wraps
H-bone,
around.
yep.
Yeah.
No, that is exceptional. I
So
mean,
do I need to take this
yeah,
out?
go ahead and take that out. We'll put it in our grind pan. And
Is there a different way to do that? I'm just,
as far
I
as
don't want you to put it through your leg.
well, use your table. Use your table as. Thank you very much, by the way. 'Cause it's honestly, yeah. Okay. Well, let me slow you down a little bit. Let me make this a little bit easier. Let me just help you out. No, you're fine. Honestly. Hey, you know what? I didn't start out doing this overnight. I was in there like a pig on roller skates trying to learn a lot of this. So when we clear it out, I kind of gave you a. Here's our hummus deal. Let me grab that.
village, you said you have to like 11.
That long? Yep. Okay. And you put this one in the ring. What is it for?
Sorry.
No, there's no problem at all. You're doing a fantastic job. Okay. So you see where this is?
Yes.
Okay, where this joins this, there's no way around it, y'all. Sometimes you're just gonna have to play it. It's gonna look like you're Dr. Mangala, doing some crazy stuff. So what you're gonna do, what I'm gonna do, is run your knife down in between here. You can see where there's a little separation.
Yeah.
Your knife has kind of seen better days at this point. It's okay. No, you're perfectly fine. So you want to separate it right there. You're just gonna have to work on it, y'all. It's okay. You may take that. That's exactly it.
Billy, is there a reason why you don't just use the bone saw in that?
Yeah. Number one, if you learn high-end butchery, I'm trying to say this without sounding arrogant, but I was taught by a Michelin star chef who became a butcher, and the way he saw it was the laziest way, because in most places in the world, you'll find those joints. If you can find the joint, but now when you go get it processed, they're going to run a bandsaw through. That's why everything has straight lines. You shouldn't see that, because every time you use a saw, you have an opportunity to introduce, there you go, fragments, and also not infection, but bacteria.
Okay.
Every time you do that, so that's why you have whenever you cut it, you should really take I hate doing it with my knife because it makes it a nightmare. You should wipe away the bone dust of all this, okay? So yeah, there's a reason we don't do that. And so I teach it the way I was taught, where I'm out of my way to make sure if you walk away from here and you use a bandsaw, that's up to you, but I taught you the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, sirloin. I'm sorry?
What about like if you run it through the saw or you use the bone saw, then you rinse it off?
Well, here's why you don't want to rinse your meat. With a pig, it's okay, but think about it. With a cow, you just sat there and pulling the moisture out of it for 21 days at least.
Right.
So you don't want to, yeah. So if you wash your meat, if it's good steak, you don't want to do that because you just spent all that time getting the moisture out of it. When you wash it, you put it right back in. So you can take a bone scrape or a bone dust scraper and take it off of there. Throw it off, you'll be good. The back of this is where the tenderloin was. So your chine bone, you're gonna have to kind of feel it. So I'll get you a little bit started, and then you'll run with it. So you're gonna go up, you're gonna walk it back, find out where your beginning is, keep going. And all you're gonna do, if you have to, if you can see this part here, I'm gonna run my knife up, and I'm gonna ride alongside those ribs, okay? And then I'm just gonna kind of pull it out, meanwhile riding that thing up the hill. So now I got a foothold, okay? And I can go the other way, and all you're gonna do is follow that. Let's get this bone out of here. Okay. Now, we are going to have these. All right, there ain't no Humpty Dumpty stuff after this, y'all. Will you break it down? You can, but it can be a pain. Okay. There you go. Excellent. Now, all you have to do is cut it loose up here. You could not have made that a better cut. And now you can push down with your left hand if you want. Bam. It doesn't get any better than that, y'all.
Pops right out.
And the hock is one of the things that gives a lot of butchers fits. Look at that. Excellent. Oh, and another little side thing. When you do a country ham, if that animal was raised on concrete, I promise you, it will go rancid. Nobody even knows why. If you raise that pig on concrete in a slaughterhouse and you try to make a country ham out of it, it will go rancid. Guaranteed. That's how you would hang it. Or you could just hang it from the sock itself. But in the olden days, that's how they would have done it. They would have had hooks hanging out there in the barn. That's how you would have hung it.
And that's hung in the winter, right? That's the whole thing.
Absolutely.
It's all about under 50 or 40 degrees. Right?
That's right. That's why in fact, to this day, all the country hams that are made in America are usually done in Kentucky and Virginia and West Virginia. They're still done that way.
Because they can still do it outside.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Plus, the humidity, the cool thing about living there's a sweet spot of humidity. And it can be found between 2,000 to 3,000 feet. I live at 3,000 feet, well, 2,800 feet. So these can be done It still can be done if you have a refrigerator, a walk-in cooler, but that set side is it's going to take in all the flavors of what's around it. So if you hang it in your garage, hope you like gasoline, it's the spot where you killed the animal. Okay? So the blood, we got all the blood out of it. If somebody bites into a sausage, I remember we did some verde one time, and when they come back there, it is, when it's cooked, it looks like the most awful thing in the world, and it's hard. You don't want, so anything that's blood meat, you want to get that out of there.
Not much of a stand on stage person, so I'm going to come down here on your level here. So an old woman is shouting at a Ukrainian farmer's market, potatoes from Chernobyl, potatoes from Chernobyl. A man walks by and he asks her, why are you telling everybody that your potatoes are from Chernobyl? No one will buy them from you. They do, my dear, she replies. For mothers-in-law, for neighbors, for coworkers. This is a joke, of course, but the woman selling potatoes actually illustrates a couple of very important principles of marketing. Know your customers and nail down your unique value proposition. That's a marketing term. So in other words, how your product is different from your competitors. Today I just wanted to share a little bit of marketing knowledge and advice with you that I've picked up along the way that I really think is transferable to everything that you guys are doing on your own homesteads and what you could potentially do in the future, because it can be all of those things. So I'm just going to share some ideas that Matt and I will be putting into practice. So I know if you follow Matt, you know a lot of our channel is very experimental. We're still very much on ground level and just trying things as we go. So these are our plans that we're working on for spring and what we envision our marketing approach might look like. So the first point I kind of want to touch on is integrating offline and online marketing activities. So I'm going to kind of put up, you learn this on your first day of marketing school, but you learn that there's a funnel to your business, and you also want to kind of orchestrate your products to kind of align with each of these sort of steps. And this is just basically relationship development from a marketing standpoint. So thinking of your business in terms of a funnel, you'll have a lot of cold leads, which are people who are just in this awareness stage. They've just found out about you. You'll have fewer warm leads. So they're just, as you get deeper into this relationship, obviously some people are going to drop off. Some people are going to stay on, and then eventually you'll have hot leads, and these are the people who are going to convert and who are going to buy from you and who are going to become loyal advocates. So marketing is just about cultivating a relationship with your customers, and so you can use your offline pursuits to fuel your online marketing activities to do just that, to kind of mimic this marketing funnel. So, for example, if you're someone who visits farmers market, or does the farmers market approach, you can use it as a lead generation tactic and actually just build your email list by putting it on your table or just encouraging anyone you meet to sign up for a newsletter or anything like that. And then you can extend that by uploading your email list to Facebook. I don't know if a lot of people know that they can do that, but if you're building an email list, you can actually upload it to Facebook and run ads in your local area to people who live in your area, and then you can find people exactly like the customers that you meet at the farmers market every day. So just an example of this is with the National Banana Pudding Festival that we just had here. In one day we had record-breaking attendance, and I handled all the marketing for that. We were obviously just a volunteer sort of organization, so very small marketing budget. Every month only had $50 to $75 to spend, and we only had an email list with 300 people. And we were still able to make record-breaking attendance. And kind of just what I attribute to that is testing different offers, really knowing the customers the people who we were trying to get as participants, and testing different offers for the festival and different messaging. So we would test an offer for $1 off per ticket for an early bird sale, or we would say, we would test different messaging. So help us find the best banana pudding in the nation, you know, making it seem like a very big deal, you know, even though to some it might not have been. But it's just all in how you communicate, and hopefully that example illustrates that. But I also want to state the obvious, which is that, you know, Facebook, I know we all have our doubts with Facebook and our complications with that, and it is a hotbed for censorship. They have admitted to making 300,000 content moderation mistakes. That's what they've admitted to recently. And they have, in 2011, this is the most recent data I could find, is that in 2011 they banned 20,000 accounts per day. And I can only imagine that's probably doubled every year since then. So we all know that Facebook is not the end-all be-all, and it's not something to rely on, of course. But it's a very powerful tool to use right now, as well as platforms like YouTube and Instagram and all of these things that you don't want to rely on. But I like to say, like Matt and I, for example, we choose to treat Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube like life rafts. So any promotional content or advertising you do there is just simply an effort to kind of wake people up, to get as many people who are like-minded into kind of our ecosystem and bring them basically offline to events like this and actually cultivate real relationships. So it's just, Facebook can be a powerful tool in helping you really find those people, and then it's up to you to kind of determine how you extend that relationship and expand upon it. But that's obviously just one avenue in terms of taking your offline activities and transferring them into online business. Also, just if you aren't doing it already, I would highly recommend collecting emails and storing them in both a digital and physical format, because you never know what could happen. So then finally, just to kind of wrap up this point, just begin treating your digital and in-person customers differently, encouraging each of them to interact with you in both or multiple places. And just some tactics I would kind of encourage are, you know, providing discounts that are only available when redeemed online, whether it's your website, your email, social media messages. You don't need necessarily fancy tools to run a promotion like that, and to get just people interested and obviously get them aware of who you are and what you do. If you have an email list, sending email invitations to your digital clients for in-person events, for classes, demonstrations, or even any promotional things too. I saw one farm at farmers markets, he puts up a sign that says, "Ask about our farm values." And that's another way that you can start a conversation with a consumer, a potential consumer. And so he said a lot of people would actually take him up on that and be like, "What are your farm values?" And then, you know, it sparks into a full-fledged conversation and obviously a sale. So I thought that was a really cool angle. And then kind of an odd example, but in Myanmar, government programs actually use social media, demonstration plots, and distribution of vegetable seed kits to encourage homestead food production. So that just kind of got me thinking, you know, to pose the question, how could some of those methods ingratiate yourself with your community and build connection points and attract attention to your business? So just some food for thought that touch on that first point there. And then the second thing I wanted to touch on with my talk is putting extra thought into any print and digital communications you put out there. As Matt mentioned, I'm a writer and a journalist, so the communication piece and the messaging piece is really crucial and to me, and just something I'm passionate about. So if you remember the joke I opened up with, this is kind of where we come full circle. The actual words you're using to talk about your product are actually like the most overlooked part of marketing, but 9 times out of 10, it's the most important to ensuring people will actually take action on something. So just 2 points here of what I would encourage you to think about anytime you're creating a flyer, creating a social media post, or whatever sort of communication you're creating. Just focus on what I like to call it is the felt need. So, for example, you just did a foraging class with Randall. You probably didn't know that you wanted to learn how to forage. Maybe you did because this is a specific audience, but people don't really want to learn how to forage. They want to feel security. They want to know that they can find food wherever they might be, whatever might happen. Maybe they want to show off to their friends while they're hiking. They're huge hikers. They just want to show off. And it's not really about the act of foraging, it's about the outcome. So another example of that is, say you specialize in producing tomatoes. Like Cindy, she's got a lot of tomatoes. She's not just selling tomatoes. She's selling the opportunity to make, grandma's special pasta sauce picked from the garden ingredients that she created the recipe with. So you're selling your story of the tomatoes, where they travel, and what they could eventually become. And then the second point with this is just using terminology that your average customer will understand and respond to. So I think sometimes we might be missing out on potential customers by using terms like foraging or heirloom without any explanation about what these terms mean and why they matter in relation to the product you're offering. So just making sure that your offer, whether it's a product or a service, is applicable to as many people as possible by highlighting what's kind of in it for them. And then just the second point there is, consider using metaphors and comparison to describe the need or benefit for your product. So for example, don't just explain to customers that duck eggs have more nutritional value than chicken eggs. Tell them how duck eggs are tastier than their daily multivitamin that they're taking, and give you that just ate a bowl of Wheaties feeling without the added sugars and carbs. Just make it connect in a different way that might touch them a little deeper than kind of the surface level. So there are a variety of ways to create messaging about your products, and it's, like I mentioned, something I'm passionate about. And so oftentimes just the right offer paired with the right messaging can help you win without competing on price. And I just, to kind of back that up, I've learned this by managing an online store with the company I work for now that directly competes with Amazon. We can't do 2-day shipping. We can't even cut our prices as much as they're able to, so we can't compete on either of those things. But the one thing that we can compete on is experiences. We can create book clubs that give direct access to an author. We create digital handouts that help people with like self-reflection and deeper things that they want. So we compete that way, and there are ways that I think this is transferable to what you're doing on your farm. Is think about what are those value-added things you can add. It's as simple as, I know a couple of our friends that were here, they add recipe, at the farmer's market, they include recipes for what they can make with their products. So that's a good example of that. And then just my last point here is just get creative about the placement of your products as well. So I was recently listening to a podcast called the Flower Podcast and came across a flower company in LA, and they started pursuing hotel clients. And she was mentioning how it didn't really necessarily always, it wasn't always like a profitable endeavor for her, but what happened was guests would come into the hotel and comment on the flower arrangement. And what ended up happening is the guests would ask the hotel, like, hey, where did you get this flower arrangement? And they would call her anytime they needed something further, a special occasion or something like that. So even though it wasn't necessarily profitable to have a hotel client, it brought in you know, all these other opportunities. So this kind of inspired me to consider the many other ways we could raise awareness of annual or perennial vegetable products, whether you live in a city, the suburbs, or the country. You know, things like, I've seen that charcuterie boards, a lot of people are really into those things now, and they're having them at every party. So could you use your vegetables for this sort of thing? And what a cool angle for a charcuterie board is that, you know, all of these farm fresh vegetables are here, and it's not just like from the store. You know, that's kind of a sad product there. So I think that elevates that. Or, you know, is there a market of business professionals in the area who might be interested in a lunch CSA? This is something Matt and I have actually talked about as something that could be a valuable add-on, and where it's like they can kind of virtue signal to their coworkers by having a farm-to-table meal brought to them every day, every week, or it's, you know, just some ideas. And then another idea I kind of ran across was, you know, instead of trying to sell chicken, you know, commercial activity with typically low margins, sell an educational class. I know Billy does stuff like that and teaches people how to butcher the chicken. So this increases your average order value while also decreasing the amount of time you're spending on marketing or making the sale. So those are just kind of my 3 main points today about how you can market your homestead, and all the lessons you learned today are ways to kind of grow your farm and monetize your homestead in a much more cost-effective way. So you can compete on price if you have to, but you always want to try and compete on the experience. I know with everything that Matt was teaching about controlling your inputs and how everything could be, you know, 100% profit after that. I think that's just, this plays into that, where if everything's 100% profit, then you can really put a lot of time and energy into how you're marketing it, and through your messaging, just make people feel seen and heard. With your offers, provide value that no other person except you or your business can provide. And just in your advertising, be specific about who you are, who you want to do business with, and how you'll make their life better or easier.